So, good morning. May 2019. So we are to do a question for the sitting of November 2019. You are to do a question for the sitting of November 2019. Question what? So question 2, part A for November 2019. When you check November 2019, question number 2, part A, it is on page 22. So November 2019, question number 2, part A. So we can go through the question. The question reads that Kanga Limited is considering the design of a new conveyor system. So the management must choose among the following 3 alternative course of actions. So option 1, they stated that the firm could sell the design outright to another corporation with a payment over the 2 years. So option 2, the firm could license the design to another manufacturer for a period of 5 years. Which is likely to be the product life cycle of the conveyor system. Then option 3, the company could manufacture and market the system itself. This alternative would result in the 6 years of the cash inflows. Then the cash flows associated with each alternative are as shown below. They have given you alternative, sell, license, and manufacturer, where they gave you initial investment. So 400,000 for sale, 400,000 for license, and also 900,000 for manufacturer. They have given us year 1 up to year 6, but sale is 2 years, license is 5 years, manufacturer is 6 years. The company has a cost of capital of 12%. So now required, advise Kanga Limited on the best alternative based on Roma letter 1, net present value approach. Roma letter 2, annual net present value. And finally, we compare and contrast. So that question, we use the equivalent annual annuity method. That Roma letter 2, you are supposed to get the annuity for each. So starting with the Roma letter 1, where they want you to compute the NPV of each particular project. So NPV is supposed to be given by NPV. We just take the present value for the cash inflows. We minus the present value of the cash outflows. So to compute the NPV, it is simply present value for the cash inflows. We minus the present value for the cash outflows. So we start with the option sell. We start off with option sell. So there will be the year, then cash flows, present value interest factor, which is 12%. The present value interest factor, which is 12% for each year. Then we come up with the present value for that. So this is now option sell. This one is option sell. So year 1, cash flows for year 1, you are given 400,000. You are given 400,000. For year 2, You have been given 500,000. So confirm for me in the table. The first table, what is 12% in year 1? 0.8. Another one. 0.8929. How about year 2? 79. Yeah. So multiply this by this to get the present value at that point. You also multiply this by that, you get the present value at that level. So when you add them together, they should give you present value for the cash inflows. Then you are supposed to less present value for the cash outflows. The present value for the cash outflows. So for that project or alternative cell, that figure is 400,000. Initial cost is 400,000. So when you minus, you will be able to get the NPV for that particular option. You will be able to come up with the NPV of that particular option cell. So that's the NPV for option cell. That will be the NPV for option cell. So that is now for option cell. So we need to go to the next one. We need to go to the next option. The next option is license. We also check. So this one is giving us an NPV of how much? 7? 355,760. Yeah, so let us go to the second option. So the second option, we have been told license. The next one is supposed to be option license. The next one is the one for the option license. So we also want to calculate the NPV for that option. We also want to come up with the NPV of this option. So this one has got 5 years. This one has got 5 years, whereby year 1 cash flows are 500,000. They are 500,000. Year 2, it is 200,000. Year 3, you are given 160,000. 160,000. Then year 4. Year 4, it is 120,000. And year 3, sorry, year 5, not year 3. Year 5, we have been given 80,000. So check for me in the table in year 3. Confirm for me in the table. Year 3. Year 3, it is 0.7118. Then year 4, it is 0.6355. Then finally, year 5 should be 0.67. So also, you multiply these figures by those values in the table. Like that. So that you get present value for the cash inflows. Then we subtract present value for the cash outflows. So present value for the cash outflows, it is simply 400,000. It is simply also 400,000, so that you come up with the NPV. So that you come up with the NPV of the license option. So online, there are some notes are sent to the class group. The one for the emerging issues in finance. So make sure you get those notes, you go through them. There are some notes are sent to the class group online about emerging issues in finance. Emerging issues in finance. Yeah, so make sure that you get those notes, you go through them. You get those notes, you go through them. You may not get time to go through those revisions in terms of the theory part, but for the computation, we shall be able to clear on time. So that one is giving us an NPV of how much? 441. Yeah, so that is now for option license. There is also option 3, which is manufacturer. So let us also check now the option for manufacturer. We now also check the option for manufacturer. Now also check the option for manufacturer. Also get the option for manufacturer. So for manufacturer, it is for 6 years. So year 1, it's 400,000. Year 2, 100,000. Year 3, 400,000. Then also year 4, it is also 400,000. Year 5, also 400,000. Then there is year 6. There is year 6. So year 6 is also 400,000. So year 6 in the table, it is which year? 0.5065. Yeah. 5056. It is 66.
Yes.
Okay. So get the present value. Then you less present value of the cash outflow. So this one, present value for the cash outflow was 900,000. So that you also get the NPV for that. So get the NPV for that option. So that one is giving us an NPV of how much? 824, 280. So that was the Roman letter 1 of the question. That was the Roman letter 1, where you are to get the NPV for each. So we go to the Roman letter 2. They want you to get the annuity of the NPV. They want you to compute the annuity of the NPV. So let us now go to Roman letter 2, how we can get the annuity of those NPVs. That is normally the step number 2, when you are dealing with the equivalent annual annuity method. When you are dealing with the equivalent annual annuity method. So to compute the annuity, so annuity is supposed to be given by annuity will be given by NPV divided by the present value interest factor for the annuity at R% for period N, like that. So we will start with the option cell. We start off with option cell. So to get the annuity for option cell, you simply take the NPV divided by present value interest factor for the annuity. That cost of capital is given as 12%. Cell, it was for 2 years. Cell was meant to be for 2 years. So just give me the figure we got as NPV for option cell. 355,760. So you now check 12% in year 2 in the second table. We now check what is meant to be 12% in year 2 in the second table. So this should be 1.6901. 6901. So that would be now to give you the annuity for option cell. That should be now in a position to give you the annuity for option cell. annuity for option sale. Then also annuity for option license. We shall also compute the annuity for the option license. So even that one, annuity is supposed to be given by NPV divided by the present value interest factor for the annuity. 12% for 5 years. That one at 5 years. So confirm NPV for option license. So, 441, 430. So also check in the annuity table. 3.6048. So that will give you the annuity for option license. It will give you the annuity for option license. Then the last one is option manufacturer. We also do now option manufacturer. Option manufacturer. Option manufacturer. So also for option manufacturer, to compute the annuity, it should be NPV. We divide by present value interest factor, 12% for 6 years. So what was the NPV for option manufacturer? Sorry, 824, 280. So also confirm in the annuity table in year 6. 4.114. Yeah. So that is now how you are to compute the annuity. That's now how you are to come up with the annuity of those 2-3 options. How to come up with the annuity for those 3 options. So we shall be picking the one with the highest annuity. To go to the Roman letter 3, we pick the one with the highest annuity. So we can advise that select option sell. Select option sell as it has the highest annuity of the NPV, as it has the highest annuity of the NPV, as it has the highest annuity for the NPV. So I want us to do another question still on the replacement. I want us to check another question still on the replacement. So this one should be December 2014. We check December 2014. Question number 1, part B, December 2014. Question number 1, part B, December 2014. Question number 1, part B. We check December 2014. Question number 1, part B. So check on page 68. Check on page 68. November 20, sorry, not December 2014. December 2014. It is meant to be question number 1, part B. We check question number 1, part B. It is there on page 68. So let us go through the question on page 68. So you are given details about Dipico Limited is a manufacturing company which makes a wide range of products. One of these products requires the use of a special machine. It requires the use of the special machine. The current policy is to replace the machine more frequently due to the fact that its productivity will decline and running costs will increase as it gets older. There is insufficient demand for the company's product manufactured using the machine to justify the purchase of a second machine. So Dipico Limited will be able to sell the product made by the machine at shillings 12 each, at which price it is able to sell up to 500,000 units per annum. Variable cost, excluding machine depreciation on running costs, amount to shillings 4 per unit. So the year of the machine life, then also productive capacity, then also the running cost. The cost of buying the machine is 600, so it is 6 million. The resale value of the machine are 4 million for a 1-year-old machine, 2.5 million for a 2-year-old machine, then 1 million for the 3-year-old machine, and 0 for the 4-year-old machine. The company will provide depreciation for its non-current assets using the straight line method. So all costs and revenue are paid or received in cash at the end of the year to which they relate, except the initial cost of the machine, which is paid immediately on purchase. The company has an annual cost of capital of 10%. So required, advise the directors on whether to replace the machine every 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. So tax is not given. When the tax is not given, we also automatically ignore depreciation. But the first thing you do in the question has not given you the cash flows. You prepare the cash flow statement to get the cash flows so that you can now determine when should we replace on the basis of that. So let us go through and prepare the cash flow statement. Let us first prepare so we shall first be required to prepare the cash flow statement. We shall first be required to prepare the cash flow statement. So in our cash flow statement, we shall be having year 1, year 2, year 3, and also year 4. So the first item there should be the sales revenue. The first item there should be the sales revenue. The first item we shall be required to consider should be the sales revenue. So sales revenue for year 1, you can see year 1, the capacity was how many units? They were able to give you 500,000 units. But when you check up there, the selling price was 12. You can see 12 somewhere.
Yes.
So you take the units, which is 0.5 million units, multiplied by 12 sheets, so that we shall be able to come up with the sales revenue for each year. So when you take 12 multiplied by 0.5, that's 6 millions. So this will be 6 millions. So also for year 2, it is still 0.5 million units. So also multiplied by 12. So it is also 6 million. When it comes to year 3, the units changed. They were able to give us 0.4 million units. 0.4 million units. You also multiply by 12. So that one should give us which year? 4.8. The same case for year 4. The same case for year 4. It is still the same figure, where you also get 4.8 million. You get the 4.8 million. So that is now for the sales revenue. Then we less variable costs. We less variable costs. So variable costs, when it comes to the variable costs, the same units, but they say the variable cost per unit, they had given us how much when they excluded depreciation, and they gave you 4 shifts. So you take the same units, 0.5 million, but now multiply by 4 shifts per unit. And that pair 2 million. So that will be the same case for year 2, where you also take 0.5 million, also multiplied by 4. When it comes to year 3, it is 0.4 million units, also multiplied by 4. So here in Akuja 1.6. The same thing for this one, 0.4 million, also multiplied by 4. So this will also be 1.6. Like that. So that is now variable costs. Then apart from the variable costs, there was also the running costs. There was also running costs given in the question. We also less the running costs. So running costs were given in the question. Running costs were given in the question. So running costs for year 1, they gave you which year? Running costs for year 1, known as 600,000. So year 1 is 600,000. Year 2, they gave you how much? 615. Year 3, 715. Year 4, yeah, so minus those 2 costs from the sales revenue. So there was no tax, and therefore there will be no depreciation. There was no tax, and therefore there will be no depreciation. Then once you do that, what you will be getting will be the annual cash inflows. Will be the annual cash inflows. What we shall be coming up with at that point will be the annual cash inflows. Will be the annual cash inflows. What you will be getting there will be annual cash inflows. So once we have done that, we want to establish when is the optimal period to make the replacement. So we use the equivalent annual annuity method, which has got 2 steps. The first step, you compute the NPV. The second step, you compute the annuity. So where the annuity will be maximum, that will be the optimal replacement period. So let us start by saying that replace after every 1 year. Replace after every 1 year. So we start off with replace after every 1 year. We now check when we are replacing after every 1 year. So replace after every 1 year. After every 1 year. So the first one, we replace after every 1 year. So the first step is to compute the NPV. The first step, you get NPV. NPV is supposed to be given by present value for the cash inflows. We minus the present value for the cash outflows. So the cash flows are not the same. We shall be having the year, then cash flows, then present value interest factor. Present value interest factor. So in the question, you are given the cost of capital. Cost of capital, this time it is 10%. So we shall be checking 10% for each year. So we start off with the year 1. We start off with year 1. So when it comes to year 1, how much was the annual cash flows that we calculated? 3.4. 3.4 million. Then this one is being replaced at the end of year 1. So after receiving 3.4 million, you are given the resale value of a 1-year-old machine. Check in the question, what are we given as the resale value of the 1-year-old machine? You can see in the second last paragraph, the cost of buying the machine was 6 million. Resale value of the machines are 4 million for a 1-year-old machine. So when you replace it at the end of year 1, you sell it at 4 million shillings. So total cash flows in year 1. After receiving the 3.4 million, you sell the asset to get 4 million. So that total cash inflows will be how much? 7.4 million. Then also now confirm in the first table. What is there as 10% in year 1? 0.9. 0.91 like that. So multiply the 7,400 by 0.9091 to give us the present value in year 1. 67. 37. 67. 0.34. So because we are replacing it at the end of year 1, this figure is now the same as your present value of the cash inflows. Because we are replacing it at the end of year 1, that figure is the same as the present value for the cash inflows. So you minus from that figure present value for the cash outflows. So present value for the cash outflows was the initial cost of the machine. You can see the cost of buying the machine is how much? Yeah, so we minus now the 6 million from that figure. There are 3 zeros at the top so that we get the NPV. NPV will be 727.34. So that is the first step. Remember, there are 2 steps. After NPV, you compute the annuity of the NPV. The second step, we get the annuity. Annuity of the NPV. So annuity will be given by NPV divided by present value interest factor for the annuity. 10% for 1 year, because we are replacing it after every 1 year. We are replacing it after every 1 year. So that NPV is 727. We write it in full, which will be now 340. We divide by 10% in year 1 in the first table. Year 1 is the same, whether the first table or the second table. So it will also be 0.9, 0.91 like that. So that's now the annuity. When we are replacing after every 1 year, when you do the replacement after every 1 year, that should be able to give you the annuity. It should be able to give you the annuity. It should be able to give you the annuity. So we now go to the step number 2. Sorry, replace after every 2 years. We now check when we replace after every 2 years. Let us now check when we replace after every 2 years. When we replace after every 2 years. We want now to check when we replace after every 2 years. So when we replace after every 2 years, we start again with the step number 1. We start again with the step number 1. Step 1, you compute the NPV. You start again with the step number 1, where we compute the net present value. You arrange it the same way we have done. You start the year, cash flows, present value interest factor, 10% each year, and also the present value. But now this time around, year 1 cash flows, they will not contain the resale value. Year 1 cash flows will simply be 3 point what? It will only be 3.4 million. So remember the cash flows for year 1. So this time around, it will not contain resale value. We are replacing it after every 2 years. So give me the cash flows that we got for year 2. So you get that 350. So that is 3.35 millions. So what is the resale value for a 2-year-old machine? 2.5. So the resale value for the 2-year-old machine is 2.5. So we add them together now to give us the cash flows for year 2 in case of a 2-year-old machine. So this one should be 585. Then confirm in the first table. The 0.8. Yeah, so you also multiply. So get for year 1 and also year 2, like that. We get for year 1 and also for year 2. When we add them together, they should be able to give you present value for the cash inflows. So this present value for the cash inflows would be how much? 79? 25.38. Yeah, so now we less present value for the cash outflows. Remember, it was 6 millions. It was meant to be 6 millions. so that you also come up with the NPV. NPV will be 1925.38, like that. 1925.38. So that is the step number one. There is also the step number two. So the step number two, we compute the annuity. The step number two, we compute the annuity. Annuity is NPV divided by the present value interest factor for the annuity, 10% for 2 years. 10% for the 2 years. So that NPV is 1925. 380. So confirm in the second table. What is there as 10% in year 2? 1.7. 355. That is now the annuity when we replace after every 2 years. That's now the annuity when we replace after every 2 years. So we now also check when we replace after every 3 years. Let us now repeat again. When we replace after every 3 years. When we replace again after every 3 years. So when we replace after every 3 years, we start afresh. The first step, we get the NPV. We get the NPV. So this one, the cash flow will be 3,350. Year 1 is remaining 3.4. Year 2 is 3.35. Yeah, but now we factor in year 3. We shall be required now to factor in year 3. We shall be now required to factor in year 3. We should now include year 3. So when it comes to year 3, cash flows for year 3 were how much? 2450. Then you remember the resale value of a 3-year-old machine. It is given as 1 million. So that means you'll be getting 3,450,000. So also confirm in the table. Also confirm in the table what is 10% in year 3. 7.5. So we also compute those figures, we get the totals to give you present value of the cash inflows. Then you less present value for the cash outflows, which is 6 million. So how much is the present value for the cash inflows? So 8451. So which means we get which value? Then after that, you got the step number 2, the annuity. So annuity will simply be given by NPV, then present value interest factor for the annuity, 10% for year 3. So that NPV is 2,451,365. So what is 10% in year 3? Should be 3 or 2 point what? 2.48, 69. So that is now when you replace after every 3 years. So finally, they also said when you replace after every 4 years, we shall now repeat the same. When now we replace after every 4 years, you want now to check when we replace after every 4 years. When we replace after every 4 years. So when we replace after every 4 years, we start again with the step number 1, where we compute the NPV. We start again with the step number 1, where we compute the NPV. So year 1 cash flows will not be affected this time. Year 2 cash flows are not affected. Then now we make adjustments in the year 3 cash flows. Year 3 cash flows, this time there is no reserve value. It will simply be 2,415 like that. Then we now also factor in the cash flows for year 4. We also factor in the cash flows for year 4. Year 4 cash flows were how much? Sorry, 2,300. So year 3 report is 0.7 hours. Then year 4 should be 0.6830. Yeah. So now get the present values, then add them together so that you come up with present value of the cash inflows. Then you also less present value for the cash outflows, which was meant to be 6 million. Then get the NPV for that. So how much is the NPV when we replace after every 4 years? $32.70.
Yes.
0.96. So that you also compute the annuity for that as your step number 2. So to get the annuity will simply be NPV. We divide by present value interest factor for the annuity. So it should be 10% for 4 years. So the NPV is 3,279,965. So 10% in year 4 Sorry? 3.1699. So get that annuity. So we get that annuity. So we want to use that annuity to identify the optimal replacement period. We want to apply that annuity to identify the optimal replacement period. So we can write something brief on that by summarizing that. We can write something brief on that. You want to advise. So maybe you can check first. When you check from here, when you replace after every 1 year, every 2 years, 3 years, and 4 years, which one has a higher annuity? Which one has a higher annuity? Yeah. When you replace after every 2 years. Yeah, so online, which one has a higher annuity? Year 1, year 2, year 3, or year 4? So the one for year 2. Yeah, so now we can make a conclusion by summarizing that the optimal replacement period, is where the annuity is maximum. The optimal replacement period is where the annuity is maximum. Therefore, replace after every 2 years. Therefore, replace after every 2 years. Therefore, replace after every 2 years. So that's now how we shall be able to deal with a replacement on that category. So let us also review another one more question on that element. So this one more question on the replacement. Check May 2017. We check May 2017, question number 5, part B. May 2017. So we check now the one for May 2017. Question number 5, part B. May 2017. Question number 5, part B. So we check from page 49. We check the question from page 49. So there's a question number 5, part B in that section. May 2017, question number 5, part B. So that question 5B, the one for Juma, they say that Juma Limited operates a machine which has the following maintenance costs and resale value. It has the following maintenance and resale value over its 4-year life. So purchase price of the machine is 25 million. The purchase price of the machine is 25 million. Then they gave you year 1, 2, 3 up to year 4, where they have given you maintenance costs and resale value. Then the company's cost of capital is given as 10%. So required, they were asking you to advise the management of Juma Limited on how frequently the machine should be what? Replaced. So the unique part of the question, there is no revenue. There is no sales revenue like the other question. So revenue is not given. So we don't have the annual cash inflows. The only item we have there is maintenance cost and what? Resale value. The maintenance cost and the resale value. That's what I'm sorry, just a minute. So we can now review that question. So the question is basically on the issue to do with the total cost. So the question has more of the cost than the revenue. So we shall be approaching the question from the cost perspective. We shall be approaching the question from the cost perspective. So that would mean that we shall be getting the present value cost. We also get the annuity cost. But when it is the cost, we pick the one with the lowest. When it is the cost, we should be able to pick the one with the lowest. So let us now go through the question. So the question is May 2017, question number 5, part B. It is on the replacement. So we start with replace after every 1 year. We start with replace after every 1 year. Replace after every 1 year. Every 1 year. So we replace after every 1 year. So when we replace after every 1 year, we shall be having the year. Then this time it is costs. Costs are more than revenue. Then also present value interest factor. The cost of capital was also given as 10%. The cost of capital was also given as 10% for each. So that you now get present value costs. So that we get the present value costs. Like that. So when we are approaching the question from the cost perspective, we start from year 0. When you incur the initial cost, because costs are more than revenue. Costs are more than revenue. So we start with the year 0. Year 0 is when you incur the initial investment. How much was the initial investment for the project? You can see they gave you the purchase price for the machine was, yeah, so we start with 25 millions. We start off with the 25 millions like that. So 10% in year 0. So year 0, it is in present value terms. You're figuring 1. Anything raised to the power of 0, it is normally 1. So the present value for that figure will just remain 25 millions. So we are approaching it from the cost perspective because costs are more than revenue. So now we go to year 1 because we are replacing it after every 1 year. So when you check maintenance cost for a 1-year-old machine, they gave you which figure? So they gave you 7.5 million. But now you sell, you can see the resale value. So when you sell, you subtract because you are getting the net cost. So we minus 15 millions. We minus the 15 millions. So when we minus the 15 millions, we are going to get negative net what? So that is like 7.5 millions. 7.5 millions, which is a negative. Then you remember 10% in year one, it was 0.9091. Yeah, so when you take negative 7,500 multiplied by 0.9091, negative 68.25. So add them together to get now the present value costs. So to get a net present value cost, net present value cost. So then 18,181.75. Yeah, so that is now the step number one. So this step one, you are to write, we get the present value cost. So our step number one, you get the present value cost. So our first step, we get the present value cost. Then now we got the step number two. Step two, we get the annuity cost. We get the annuity cost. So to get that annuity cost, we simply take the net present value cost. Net present value cost. Then we divide by present value interest factor for the annuity. It is 10% in year one because we are replacing it after every 1 year. We are replacing it after every 1 year. So that net present value cost, the figure there is 18,181,750, like that. So we need now to divide by, 10% in year one. Remember it is 0.90911, like that. So that now will give you the annuity cost. That should now be able to give you the annuity cost when we are replacing after every 1 year. When we are replacing after every 1 year. So we now also check when we replace after every 2 years. We now also check when we replace after every 2 years. We now also check when we replace after every 2 years. So when we replace after every 2 years, we start again with the step number one. We start again with the step number one. So step one, we also get present value cost. Step one, we also get the present value costs. So year zero is not affected. Year zero will not be affected. But now year one, it will not contain the resale value. But now year one will not contain the resale value. So year one cash flows will simply be 7.5 million, which is our cost. 7.5 million. Then we factor in year two. We now factor in year two. So year two, maintenance costs for year two. They gave us 11 millions. We minus resale value, which was given us 10 million. So we are left with what? 1 million. We are left with 1 million. Then also confirm in the table what is 10% in year two. 0.8264. Yeah, so also multiply like that. Then add them together to get the present value costs. to get the net present value cost. So how much is that present value cost? We are getting a total of 32. So we get the annuity cost for that. We get the annuity cost for that. So annuity cost, we simply get the net present value cost. Net present value cost. We divide by the present value of interest factor for the annuity. 10% in year 2. So it will also be 32, 644, 650. Then 10% in year 2. It was 1.7355. Yeah, so that is now the annuity cost. When we are replacing after every 2 years, that will be now the annuity cost. When we are replacing after every 2 years. So now we repeat again when we replace after every 3 years. Let us now repeat again. When we replace after every 3 years. Now repeat again. When we replace after every 3 years. When we replace after every 3 years. So the first step, we start again with the present value cost. The first step again, we get the present value cost. So year 0 will not change now. Year 1 will not change. Year 2 will only have the maintenance costs. Year 2 will only have the maintenance cost, which is 11 millions. And now we factor in year 3. We factor in year 3. So for that year 3, it is 12.5 millions. 12.5 millions. We minus what is 7.5 millions. So 12.5 minus 7.5. Unakuja 5 millions. Also confirm from the table. You also confirm from the table what is 10% in year 3. 0.751. So you factor them in. Now you will add so that we get the net present value cost. Net present value cost. Then you also you get the annuity. Now also get the annuity, the step number 2. The annuity costs. So to get the annuity cost, what are you coming up as the net present value costs? 44, 6, like that. Then also check in the table. In the table of the annuity, 10% in year 3. It will be 2.486. So that is when you replace after 2.4869. So that is now when we replace after every 3 years. That's now when we replace after every 3 years. So now we also check when we replace after every 4 years. Let us now check when we replace after every 4 years. When we replace after every 4 years. So when we replace after every 4 years, we repeat the same concept afresh. So year 3, it will not be containing the resale value. So year 3 will just be 12,500. Then now you factor in year 4. You now factor in year 4. So when it comes to year 4, it will be 15 minutes. We minus the resale value. So resale value is 2.5. So this one will be 12,500. Will be 12.5 millions. So also confirm in the table in year 4. In the table in year 4, it is 0.6. 0.6830. So you repeat the sum, then you will be getting net present value cost. Net present value costs. So once you get the net present value cost, we should now also be able to compute the annuity. The annuity cost. So that annuity cost, we simply get the net present value cost. Net present value cost. Then we should be able to divide by. We should be able to divide by present value interest factor for the annuity, 10% in year 4. So how much is that net present value cost? Now, 58, 890, 837. So also confirm from the table what is 10% in year 4. 3 points. 169. Like that. Is it 3.1699? So we should now be in a position to compare them. So we compare the annuities. We compare the annuities. So for the cost, we shall be picking the one with the lowest. For the cost, we pick the one with the lowest. So the lowest annuity cost is in which year? Year 3. Yeah, online you confirm the lowest annuity cost is in which year? So after every 3 years. So now we can make a conclusion. Let us now make a conclusion by summarizing that the optimal replacement period, is where the annuity cost is minimum, is where the annuity cost is minimum, Therefore, replace after every 3 years. Therefore, replace after every 3 years. So that is now all on the replacement. That's now all when it comes to the replacement. So we need to start a new topic. The new topic should be methods of dealing with the risk in the capital budgeting. Our next topic will be methods of dealing with the risk in the capital budgeting. Our next topic will be methods of dealing with the risk in the capital budgeting. Methods of dealing with the risk in the capital budgeting. So those who are online, I want you to confirm to me whether you can see any notes in the group on the methods of dealing with the risk in the capital budgeting. So those who are physical, I've given you the notes today. That one paper I've given you is about methods of dealing with the risk in the capital budgeting. So online, are you able to see anywhere in the class group the methods of dealing with the risk in the capital budgeting? There are several notes I've been sending to the class group, including some solutions on the theory. Muliona pia hizo? Yeah, so make sure that you get in touch. So I'm still waiting for the confirmation from those who are online, whether you have seen any notes on that. So if they are not there, someone else has said yes, no. So I'm going to forward them to the class group about, so our next topic is supposed to be methods of dealing with the risk in the capital budgeting. So I'm going to forward them right away in the class group. It will be our next topic. So given the time remaining, I won't be able to do anything much on that, but to meet here on Sunday. So I'm forwarding the notes to the class group so that we shall be able to use them on Sunday. So we can stop there. So mnajua hiyo time what na meet. Yeah. So let me forward. The time is known. Tuna meeting saa ngapi? We normally meet from 7. We normally meet from 7. So make a point for that time. So I'm forwarding the notes to the class group immediately. So make a note to get those notes so that in our next class, we shall be looking at that topic. So we can stop there for now.